I hadn't really thought strongly about what we wanted to do with the outcomes of that workshop. So we sort of like come to this great outcome. We're like, good, like these are the things we really believe in. This is what we want to. But so what? What are we going to do with it now? Like, so we communicate it, and we're like, okay. I bet if I look back, it's like, what measurable difference has that made? Probably none. Not because there's not a good amount of alignment about what we want to do, but because there was no explicit thought that I had put into, right, as soon as this outcome comes, I'm gonna, I don't know, like do a sanity check of like our roadmap and our processes and what we're doing to see how aligned it is with these kind of goals and objectives. There wasn't enough thought like put into that. And I think that was the learning experience for me. Is like, well, if I'm going to start these types of these workshops and these types of conversations, I have to have a clear sense of what I want to do with the end results. Otherwise, you know, you've probably seen it before. You lose trust over time with the team that, oh, we run this retrospective or we've done this thing, but nothing actually comes of it. Nothing meaningful happens. And I think part of the reason we couldn't do anything with it is because our roadmap is stacked with stuff that's pre-committed. You know, there's no getting away from it. We're going to do this stuff regardless, right? Because that's what we've already said we're going to do. And actually that leaves very little space for you know, thinking about how we want to do this stuff, or like these wider kind of like goals about the way we want to work and blah blah blah. That's why we just focus on trying to become more efficient rather than changing the culture of how we work. So I think that tells me like my goal is really about the conditions. If I can improve, you know, like for example, the amount of space and time the team have to grow and learn, you know, by challenging or pushing back on some of the business demands, by thinking about, well, is it sensible for us to try and like deliver on all of these different priorities concurrently or whatever else. If I can pay some of that time back to the team, then we have a hope of doing something with these kind of clear objectives about what kind of culture we want to create. If I can't do that, then I'm just adding more considerations to their plate to have to worry about. All right, oh, I have to deliver all of this, and I have to think about how I create a learning culture. And it's like, well, that's not really fair, is it?
Yeah, what you're saying about lots of demands on the team from various kind of stakeholders and people from across the business, that is, I think that is probably one of the biggest problems in modern business, is teams and departments are just totally overwhelmed with demand, and it's just crushing. The last few clients I've worked with, it's really hard to see the wood from the trees. And as I mentioned earlier, there's lots and lots of output, but is this actually driving the right kind of outcomes? And there's just no space to pause and think and just say, hey, this thing that we're working on, is this the right thing? Have we had an opportunity to test and learn? And it's really hard to ruthlessly prioritize and know what to de-scope based on some kind of shared aligned vision. Yeah. Or whether you know, we've done some work, we've taken it to our stakeholders or our end customers and realized it's actually not quite cutting the mustard. It's not really moving the needle on our success measures. So perhaps we should take the tough call and say, actually, perhaps we should just pause on this, do less of it. Yeah. But I think just high business demand is kind of crippling for many individuals. I also think it may have got worse since we're all working from home, because there's no clear barrier between work life and home life.